Hello, my name is Kerisa Carlin. I'm one of the news editors for the Griffin newspaper here at Leeds. Today, I'm with Sanchez, local Leeds radio presenter. Sanchez, how are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Lovely, it's lovely to see you. Thanks so much for coming in.
It's nice to see people and have some form of interaction. I'm actually very excited.
Oh, amazing. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, good.
So I just want to start off talking a little bit about you today. So you've had an established career in football and then you've gone on to work for the media. Can you just tell us a bit about your journey, a bit about that? How did you get from football to where you are now?
It's a very strange journey, to be honest. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'm doing something I loved almost as much as football. So for most young boys, it's a football career is what they dream about. And it was the same for me. Basically, I had too much energy as a 7-8-year-old. So my mum said, right, he needs to just go somewhere to use his energy.
Yeah.
And I ended up playing football and I turned out to be pretty good at it.
Amazing.
And I kind of rose through the ranks. I played for my local county, Leeds City Boys, then got scouted for Leeds United Academy. That was around 12 years old, and I stayed all the way up until I was 21. So I got my professional contract after my scholarship. So that was from 18 to 21. And then from that time, in and around it, I kind of was asked, because of my Leeds United profile, do I want to be a part of events? Do I want to come and maybe hand out some awards? And when that was happening, I realised that I kind of got a knack for speaking. I felt quite confident, and I also loved representing other people, other people's brands, other people's infrastructure. So I then said, do you want me to do more? Do you want me to host? Do you want me to kind of use my voice and be more vocal?
Yeah.
And it naturally progressed from there. And then radio literally came out of nowhere. I was hosting an event for unsigned talent, and literally there was about only 10 people in the crowd. Okay. But I'm always a firm believer of giving something 110%, regardless of who's there, who's watching. Just do it for your own self-pride. Yeah. And then lucky I did, because there was a producer in the crowd who was looking for new talent. Amazing. And then it's just slowly progressed from there. I've gone from having a 1-hour show a week, then a few hours a week, then to live radio, and now I'm the official evening presenter on BBC Radio Leeds. So
congratulations!
Yeah, it was quite a journey, but I'm very happy with the outcome.
That is certainly so interesting, and it's really aspirational.
Thank you.
I kind of want to talk more about the industry, even more so the Black Lives Matter movement. Mm-hmm. It feels like, especially with Channel 4 releasing their new series Black and Proud, we're seeing so much more representation on screen, and obviously that's a good thing to see. Could you talk a little bit about your experience within the industry, and also, is it the same behind closed doors? Is there equal representation?
So luckily, where I'm based, BBC Radio Leeds, diversity and inclusion is huge. Okay. The chief editor of the BBC is an Asian man. The acting chief editor at BBC is Asian. We have, from how I got my start was because they wanted more diversity. So I had a show that was a music rooted in black culture show. Okay. We had a rap and grime show. We had an LGBTQ plus show. We had, everything from Asian sounds and spanning across the board. So from my personal perspective at BBC Radio Leeds, it is hugely diverse. Yeah. Now, it's unfortunate to say that is, I wouldn't necessarily say rare, but we are leading the forefront of that. Okay. There's still a long way to go. Speaking on the Black Lives Matter movement, I think it was a great catalyst for real, tangible change, because throughout my experience over the years, and I'm sure with many people a lot older than me, they've seen and heard a lot of promises be made. Yeah. Usually when an incident happens, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of potential and things are going to happen, and then nothing ever does. And it usually takes a catastrophic incident like the death of George Floyd or something like that for people to fully stand up and march and want change, but then nothing really transpires. Now, from this Black Lives Matter movement, what I've experienced is real change, and that comes with accountability. Okay. From anyone that I've been in contact with, it's not just about telling you what we want, it's demanding that it happens and holding you accountable if it doesn't happen. So behind the scenes and behind closed doors, there's people that are really passionate about making sure this just doesn't get swept under the rug. Diversity isn't just a box that's ticked. It is something that is a necessity, and it's something that needs to continue to be a part of the workplace. For example, it needs to be, rather than discussed in boardrooms, there needs to be black, white, Asian, young, male, female, people around the boardroom. You can't have a group of 10 white men talking about diversity. That just doesn't work anymore. It never has done, but now we are holding people accountable. So I'm seeing changes, and I'm seeing the potential for changes. I'm very much looking forward to the future, and I am happy just to kind of be a part of it. I feel like I've got a role to play as a young black man. I've always tried to be the role model. You know, I've had a few role models in my life, but I feel like this day and age, there's so many young, talented people that are going to lead the way. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of work being done that is very shortly going to come to the forefront, and I'm very excited about it as well.
Amazing. That is so insightful.
Yeah.
Actually, just to pick up, there's loads of young, talented people. What advice would you give for those young, talented people that really want to get into the industry? Is it a case of applying online, making contacts? Just, you know, we see TikTok, a lot of people making their own content. What would you say the best way to go forward is?
I'm not sure if it's the best way, but the biggest advice I would give is be an online CV. This is what I've been telling a lot of people recently. We're at a day and age where technology is incredible.
Okay.
You do not now need someone to facilitate your media aspirations. You don't need a big camera company or a big television company to allow you to be yourself. You can pick up your iPhone and record. You can do TikToks, you can do reels on Instagram, you can be witty on Twitter, you can write paragraphs on Facebook. You can use all these social media platforms to express yourself, but also be an online CV. I was actually watching a comedy sketch today, and the people on it, I actually realized that none of them were brought through by massive companies. They were all people that started off by being themselves online, and people then pick up on that talent. So to get in the industry, for me, it was networking, and it was right place, right time. And I do think those opportunities still exist, but they can't be harmed by you putting yourself out there. For example, if there was a young person that wanted to be a presenter, and let's say their name was put across to me, and I wanted to go on their social media, if I'm just seeing pictures, or if I'm just seeing just nonchalant things and nothing that really shows their character, that's not going to help as much as if I go on their page and they've been doing Instagram lives, they've been hosting interviews with their friends and family, they've touched on relevant subjects. If you're doing something like that, that allows me to engage with you straight away. And I feel like that's something that's in your own control. Big advice across the board is you can only control what's in your control. You can't help it if a Channel 4 executive or BBC executive comes and sees you and picks you out. You know that if it happens, great. What you can do is build your own platform and show the talent that you've got. So that would be my advice to anyone. Do everything, collaborate with people, do cross-pollinated on TikTok, on Reels, and just don't even think about it. Just create the content, put it out there, and build yourself a platform online.
Amazing, thank you. Such great advice. You work for BBC Leeds.
Yes.
You've grown up in Leeds.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about your experience growing up in Leeds, how Leeds has changed?
My Facebook, I think it still is actually, it's Sanchez, Mr. Leeds Payne. I think my Twitter is actually that. But my reason behind it is because my first ever experience where I really realised that I wanted to represent where I came from is when I was at Leeds United, and people heard I was from Chapeltown, and the first thing that they said was, oh, have you ever seen a shooting, or have you ever held a gun? And that's because Chapeltown had a certain reputation. So from that point, I said, right, whatever I do, which looks like it was going on a positive trajectory, I'm going to make sure I represent where I'm from. So I wanted to change people's perceptions on Chapeltown first and foremost. In doing that, I played for Leeds United, first Leeds City Boys. I'm part of Leeds City Council. I'm currently on BBC Radio Leeds. I felt like I am a good role model for the city, so I wanted to really show the world what Leeds can do. And I owe everything that I am to this city. Not only the family, but the people that have supported me throughout have all been from around here, and the opportunities I've got are from this city. A lot of people think that you have to go to the Londons and the Manchesters. And another thing that's also a pet peeve is, and I know it's very random, but it's when like rappers or singers or people mention loads of cities. Have you ever been to a rave and they say shout out, and people always forget Leeds? And it honestly annoys me so much, because I know that we are huge culturally in the industry, arts. Leeds United are now back in the Premiership. So many great things. So I'm like, right, I need to be an advocate for this city, and I think like growing up here has really made me the diverse person I am, and it's allowed me to be able to walk in many different walks of life. And I feel like if you've got many strings to your bow, you can't go too far wrong. It's always better to have a greater outlook on life, and I feel like Leeds is a great city to allow that.
Amazing. It's lovely to hear. I want to talk about the change you'd like to see. So perhaps in the industry.
For me, I am big on innovation.
Okay.
So I want to see the continued expansion of use of talented people. So I like stories being told. I feel like I actually came off a meeting today where we're using this tagline because like I said, I'm part of Leeds City Council,
Yeah.
and in 2023 we are running a year of culture.
Okay.
So I'm on the board for this, and one of the taglines that we've been looking at is the extraordinary in the everyday ordinary. And this is because I firmly believe in what people could see as just nothing, or people weren't really looking to as anything special. There's so much greatness in the things that people usually dismiss. So I want to see more people believing in themselves.
Okay.
I feel like confidence in whatever you're going through, that there's someone that can resonate with it. So in the industry, in the media, I want people to believe in themselves more and put themselves out there. I feel like a lot of times people stop their own progression and their own potential based on the voice in their heads that say that they're not good enough, they're not fun enough, they don't have the talent, and that's what's the most disappointing thing. So I hope that the media companies like the BBCs and the Channel 4s continue. Of course, Channel 4 just moved to Leeds.
Yeah.
I hope they continue to reach out and find young, talent that they can nurture in the industry, but also on the same side of the coin, the other side of the same coin, sorry, I want that talent to understand that they are wanted and valued. So I feel like once we have that collaboration of opportunities, plus those believing that they can take them, I think the future of media and in many different aspects is going to be really great.
Amazing. You working with Leeds City Council?
Yeah.
I found that so interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
So again, this happened just because I've got a big mouth, basically, and I was actually put forward by Sally Cole. She runs Breeze, and Breeze Leeds is basically a company that helps support young people through music, through events. And I was hosting a show for them, and an opportunity came up to basically be a part of the Leeds City Council for this capital culture bid, and you had to write a letter on what Leeds means to you, and I basically just regurgitated everything that's in my mind, put it on the page, and I just basically spoke on how much I value what this city has done for me as a person. Then that letter obviously resonated with the people on the panel, because I was put into a think group. Okay. And it started off very small. It was basically just so the higher ups can have an idea. They'd maybe have a question and they'd put it to our think group. We'd combine and it's sent back to them. So I started off quite low down in the whole thing, and then slowly, obviously my opinions and what I valued were liked by those within the Leeds 2023. So I got asked to go higher up in meetings, and I'm now currently I'm now a board member for Leeds 2023. So in that year, we have funding to basically put on a whole year of culture, from arts to dance to songs to just amazing things. And it's been a really great journey. I've been able to travel the world, basically travel Europe to do just research missions. I've been able to speak to people that I've never thought I'd be able to be in contact with. I've spoken to people that have been the architects for some of the biggest buildings in Leeds. I've learnt about the history on such a deeper level, and I'm now going to be, when 2023 comes, I'm going to be at the forefront of all these events. So it's going to be very fun from now until then, and then that year is going to be incredible, so I can't wait.
That most certainly sounds amazing. And talking about your work, what just comes to mind is footballers making a change. Mm-hmm. So you're one footballer. Another big footballer that comes to mind is Marcus Rashford.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a bit about what he's done, how it makes you feel?
I am always defending footballers because I feel like we get a bit of a bad rep.
Yeah.
I feel like because, yes, there's some people on astronomical amounts of money, but it doesn't change the fact that, footballers are still human. Yeah. And it also means that just because they are on these substantial amounts of money, it doesn't mean that they have to be doing anything out of the ordinary. They're people that play a profession and they get paid accordingly. So that can be it, and that's fine. But I do believe that as footballers and as idols, you do have a level of responsibility as well. Now, what Marcus Rashford is doing is well beyond the means that any footballer feels that they have to do.
Yeah.
But it's incredible. It's a shame that in this climate, it's taken someone that's outside of the government to make these things happen.
Yeah.
I understand there's logistics coming from the government. I'm hearing the back and forth, but for me, the case that Marcus Rashford is fighting for young people to be fed and have meals is unbelievable that the conversation needs to be had. For me personally, the money needs to be coming from somewhere to make sure that these young people are not starving.
Yeah.
The fact that that's even under question is just incredible. But what he's doing is great. He's galvanized a whole country. His work off the pitch it's just incredible. It's great to see that someone who's young, black, he's male, and he's just an idol and a role model. And he's actually putting a lot of people who are in higher places that have actual real power to shame. So I commend what he's doing. I love the fact that it's rallying people to do more as well. And I feel like it's just something that's gonna hopefully change the way that the world is, because it shows the real term of an influencer. He's positively influencing a whole country, and obviously he's got his MBE, which is more than deserved. And I feel like it's just the start. I feel like people from other professions, once they realize that they do have a following and can use it to make real change, I'm hoping that more people step forward and really be the change that they want to see in the world.
Yeah, that's sounding so amazing. I know you talk about all your work, and what I really particularly found interesting, what you've just said, is, Marcus, to footballers, to some extent, you have a responsibility.
Yeah.
Do you think football has changed from, the days of WAGs, the days of the glamour of it all, to now we're seeing more footballers do social things? Do you think it's a change in culture, or do you think it's just, a few, it's just actions of a few?
I feel like everything changes, everything adapts, everything kind of molds into the time. So there was a point where it was like the footballer, and then everyone wants to be a WAG. Now it's not so much that. I feel like footballers are still very much in the limelight and still very much have to be responsible for what they do, but they have been humanized a lot more.
Yeah.
For example, you see a lot of footballers on panels or on game shows, and they become more personalities rather than these untouchables who are always in the paper for bad things.
Yeah.
We see in the balance of footballers that are humanitarians, footballers that show passion in other walks of life, footballers that are becoming musicians and artists and stuff. So I feel like it's just being more normalized that footballers don't have to be held on this pedigree and also have to be kind of victimized as well, because a lot of the times, coming up, we used to get told don't do anything out of line because the kind of media will hound you.
Yeah.
Whereas we're now kind of seeing a bit of a shift where the media is actually supporting the footballers.
Okay.
But I do still think that it is tough being a footballer, because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Like, if you don't speak up, they say, well, you want all this money, you should be doing something. And if you do, they say, well, you're just a footballer, shut up and kick a ball. So it's very tough, but I feel like it is ever changing. So, in 20 years' time, the footballer is going, I don't know what they could be seen as. I think Marcus Rashford might have opened the door to footballers then going into politics and going into anything, because as with life, everything is quite a social debate. If you've got influencers, that's why Instagram and followers and all these things are so huge, because when you've got that many people that will look and buy into what you say, you do have power. So I'm hoping that more footballers who are passionate about political standpoints do take up the courage to be involved. But also, I'd love the fact that the average person does understand that they are just footballers and don't expect them to be necessarily well versed in politics. They're just speaking their mind. So we'll see how that progresses.
And I feel like in an age of social media, we're certainly uncovering news stories that perhaps wouldn't be normally shared by the mainstream media. What do you think about this?
I'm quite nervous for the future, to be fair. I am nervous for the next generation. I feel like my generation was already a part of the transition of social media, where people were changing their habits, changing how they look, changing their lifestyles for social media. And of course, social media can be an absolutely great tool to bring people together, to spread awareness, spread stories. For example, racism, huge. Will Smith has a quote saying racism hasn't got worse, it's just been documented, because everyone can actually show what's going on. So in that way, people can raise awareness to great things, from crowdfunding to sharing positive things. Conversely, it is difficult because you're seeing the rise in depression. People like on social media, people only put their happiest, and if you're looking at that from behind the screen, you're seeing that everyone else's life is amazing, and then you compare your own and think, okay, well, what's wrong with mine? So the younger generation that doesn't have that interaction, they're losing, becoming more antisocial because of social media. And that's what I think is scary. So I feel like it needs to be monitored, it needs to be looked at, and it needs to be taken much care, because someone even compared it to a drug, and it kind of is. Like, people are doing things for likes and for retweets. And I know there's certain people that will put a picture up, and if it doesn't get a certain amount of likes, they'll take it down. But if you like the picture, that it should be for you, not for anyone else. So I am a big fan of social media in many, many ways, but I'm also very nervous that if it's not contained, controlled, and monitored, it could be disastrous for the next generation.
That's so insightful. Would you say social media has ever influenced or, altered your well-being?
Not well-being. I've luckily been able to keep quite a good grasp on my own mental health. The reasons why my mental health has declined is due to things happening in real life.
Yeah.
But as far as social media goes, I've always been open and honest. If I'm having a good day, you'll know it. If I'm having a bad day, you'll know it as well.
Okay.
And I've always tried to maintain that realism. What you see on my social media, you'll see in person. You'll never see a confident, laughing Sanchez on social media, and then me be in your face and be timid, or conversely. So, I literally, what I've actually been adopting, I've actually watched a Netflix documentary recently that kind of put me even more on edge to make me be aware of what I'm doing.
Okay.
But I tend to post a picture or a video, whatever comes to mind, press record, and I'll leave it. I'll forget about it, because I feel like that makes it more authentic, and that stops me from having to monitor what I'm doing to see if people are interacting or to see what other people think. It's more of, this is what Sanchez wanted to do, this is the real me, and I put it out there. So I try to influence social media rather than have social media influence me.
That's a really good take. Who do you follow on social media? Who are the people that inspire you?
Will Smith is a massive inspiration. I recently went through the whole of The Fresh Prince and just his journey and his attitude towards hard work and being a good person. Kevin Hart is a comedian, someone that I follow because not only is he very funny, I love his work rate and the fact that he never wants to stop, going and doing more. Michael B. Jordan, because he's my twin, and because of that, I always like to see what he's doing just to keep abreast of it. But also, jokes aside, he is a very, very great human being. He always talks about his family and his roots, and it's just refreshing to see. Anthony Joshua, again, another big figure. Obviously, all the ladies love him because of his looks. I like him because of his humility. He's not changed. Win, lose or draw, he's always been humble and he's always been really great to his fans, and he always remembers where he comes from. So I always believe, like, if I ever reach a point of stardom in whatever I'm doing, that's the kind of mold I know I would be. But it's also something that I'm seeing someone in the limelight who's doing it. So I always really I love seeing that. And then there's a lot of people like I follow. There's a lot of people that are just very positive. So anytime I see any good vibes being spread and good energy, people being themselves, that's the kind of things that I tend to follow. I like to have my social media, my surroundings, my friends, whatever my life is around the similar kind of wave, which is all goodness and positivity. I don't really follow if pages are always kind of negative, or like I don't really follow news outlets or anything that can be disruptive to my aura and to my energy. So I try to make sure I'm on top of it from that perspective.
Wow. And I feel like, because you work for the media, is it a little bit exhausting consuming media as well? Because you kind of want time to switch off, no?
Yes and no. Again, it depends on what you're consuming. And everyone likes to scroll. I'm not going to act like I'm out here on my high horse and never go on social media. But I do make sure I limit myself. I also make sure that I understand the transition between me being on air versus me being Sanchez as well. Even though it's the same person, it has to have some slight difference so you don't feel like you're constantly on it. For example, I wouldn't want to go from being on my phone, then being on air, then being right back on my phone, and then not immersed in real life. So I do make sure that I'm very aware and conscious of that. There's so many different forms of media, from radio, then I might go watch a documentary on Netflix, and then I might go on a Snapchat, then I might be on Instagram talking to someone, then I might go and see what's happening on Twitter. And then I feel like if you've got a good balance, and also what I do to combat all that is I go for like walks. Or I'll go for a drive and I'll park up somewhere and just be, with the world. So I kind of counteract all the media that I do on a daily basis, day in, day out. I also make sure I have time for nature, for meditation, for self-care. So I feel like I'm never too overwhelmed by the media side of it. And it also allows me to kind of absence make the heart grow fonder. So I like to make sure I'm away from it. So when I come back and I'm on air in front of camera, it's always like a nice feeling to be there. It's not like it's taking over my life.
Oh, I see. Meditation, I feel like that's quite interesting. It's only recently just been becoming more mainstream. How's meditation helped you?
I've been a fan of meditation for a long time, and people think it's this outwardly out-of-body experience. It's literally just sitting with no devices turned on and just thinking, eyes closed, just deep breathing, and just think. And then your thoughts will run wild. Your thoughts may dim to the point where you don't think of anything, and you just relax. In a world where we're kind of everything's quite quick. Snapchat 10 seconds, TikTok 15 seconds, and we digest things so quickly that sometimes you need to just shut off and spend a long period of time just relaxing and doing nothing. So for me, meditation allows me to gather my thoughts. It allows me to think of new ideas, and this is the thing as well. It allows you to do more.
Okay.
People think if you meditate, you slow down, you have to kind of get up and get going again. But you could be at a writer's block, you could be kind of stuck in life, you could be not sure what your next move is, or you could be working hard on a project. You have a 10 minutes to yourself and it's relaxing. The ideas that formulate in that period of that kind of rest time are huge, and they're some of the big reasons where I've got my ideas for either businesses or things that I'm doing. It's because I've taken the time out. So I would recommend it. I'd recommend meditation. I'd recommend yoga or Pilates, not only for strength and body, but also your mind as well in those things. And in general, if I were to kind of incorporate everything, self-care, I'd 100% advise. In this day and age where it's uncertain times, we've got the pandemic and just everything happening, stress and struggles of people being unemployed, people struggling as students and not knowing what tomorrow holds, self-care is needed. So that'll be 100% my advice for anyone.
Amazing, that's excellent advice. I want to say it's been lovely talking to you, it's been fantastic, and I've certainly learnt a lot. I hope you've enjoyed yourself too.
No, it's been lovely. It's always great to conversate and kind of just let loose. So I'm really grateful for being here.
Thanks so much for coming on. I'm Kerisa Carlin, news editor of The Griffin, and this is my great guest, Sanchez, local Leeds radio presenter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.